It was the fall of 2019. Lake Allen, located in the northern part of the U.S. state of Montana, was a beautiful but mysterious lake. Tourists would come there during the day, take pictures, and leave before dusk. The locals used to say something strange. If you see the cabin in the woods north of the lake, never go inside. The strange thing was that no one could tell where the cabin was. Noah's breathing had quickened. His eyes were fixed on the stairs where his other form was slowly descending. Knock, knock, knock. The wooden steps creaked with each step. But the scariest thing wasn't his appearance. The scariest thing was that he looked exactly like Noah. Same height, same face, same voice. Even the scratch on his jacket was the same one Noah had made 2 days ago while unpacking his car. It was impossible. Absolutely impossible. "Who are you?" Noah asked in a trembling voice. The dark-eyed man's smile deepened. "You should ask yourself that question," he said. Noah immediately backed away and tried to find the door. But the wall was still there. The door had really disappeared, as if it had never been there. Suddenly, Noah's mobile rang. He quickly took out the phone. There was only one word written on the screen. "Phone." Noah's body came to life. "Thank you." He immediately picked up the call. "Mom, can you hear my voice?" There was silence for a few moments. Then a faint whisper was heard from the other side. "Noah, don't look up." Noah's heart stopped. It wasn't his mother's voice. It was the voice of an old woman. Very old, very weak, and very scared. "Who are you?" he shouted. But the call was disconnected. At that moment, the lights in the entire cabin began to blink. Once, twice, 3 times. And then it was completely dark. Noah immediately turned on the flashlight. The light went straight to the stairs. But the man had disappeared. The stairs were empty. That didn't go well. Someone said right behind him. Noah screamed and turned around. The man with the black eyes was now standing behind him, only a few inches away. Noah pushed him away without thinking and started running. He rushed to a door that was in the other corner of the room. He opened the door and went inside. It was a small study. There were books all around, old diaries, files, photos, and there were dozens of pictures on the wall. Noah shone the flashlight on them, and his blood froze. All the pictures were of different people. Men, women, children, old. But there was a date written under each picture. 1954, 1987, 2020, 2053. Noah's eyes stopped at the last picture. It was his own picture, and there was a date written under it. October 17th, 2020. It was 3 days later. In the picture, Noah looked dead. His face was yellow. His eyes were closed. And he was lying on the floor of the same cabin. No. Noah's mouth came out involuntarily. Then he saw a diary. It was written in bold letters. The visitors. He immediately opened the diary. The first page was from 1954. "I am Henry Walker. If anyone is reading this diary, for God's sake get out of this cabin. This place is not for humans." Noah quickly turned the next pages. Every few decades, there was a new person writing. Everyone had written the same thing. They saw a cabin in the woods. They went inside. And then they met their own alter ego. No one had a good ending. Everyone had disappeared. And then Noah came to a page that was dated 1987. This was the same year as the picture. Noah's breath caught as he read the writing. If you're reading this, it means you're the next victim. This cabin is alive. It copies humans. First it takes your form, then your memories, then your life, and finally takes your place. Noah's hands began to tremble. Suddenly, a loud voice came from above. Thump. Then another. Thump. As if something heavy were falling to the floor. Then a terrible sound echoed throughout the cabin. The sound of thousands of whispers. Thousands of people were talking at once. Noah couldn't understand a single word. But then the whispers began to become clear. They were all repeating the same sentence. He's here. He's here. He's here. Noah's body trembled. Just then there was a slow knock on the study door. Knock, knock, knock. Then silence. And then a familiar voice was heard. "Noah, open the door." It was Noah's own voice. Absolutely his own. "I know you're in there." The thing on the other side of the door said, "I just want to talk." Noah remained silent. A few moments passed. Then laughter was heard from the other side. Slow, cold, inhuman. And then the sound of nails scraping against the door began. Snore, snore, like someone was chopping wood. Noah started to back away in fear. But then he saw something else on the wall. A map. A map of the forest. And there was a red circle in the middle of the map, in the same place where the cabin was. But under the map was a sentence. "The cabin is not actually here." Noah read it again in surprise. "The cabin is not actually here." Below it was written, "You are no longer in the Lake Allen forest." As the blood dried from Noah's body, if he wasn't in the forest, then where was he? At that moment, the study door began to shake violently. Bang, bang, bang. The wood began to crack, and two black eyes peered out from under the door. The same eyes, the same smile. And then the thing whispered, "Now you know the truth. That's why you'll never be able to leave here." Crash. The study door shook again with all its might. The wood began to crack. Noah stood against the wall. His hands were shaking, but now along with fear, another feeling had arisen. Curiosity. If he wasn't really in the forest, then where was he? The thing on the other side of the door was laughing continuously. That laughter wasn't human-like. It seemed like dozens of people were laughing at once. Different voices, different accents. But at the same time, Noah quickly picked up the map again. There was something written on the back of it, in very small letters. He brought the flashlight closer. "If you're reading this, the door probably hasn't broken down yet." It was a message from someone else. "My name is Samuel Harper. I came here in 1987. Noah's eyes widened. It was the same year he had seen the picture of. He continued reading. "I don't know what this place is, but it doesn't exist on Earth. It's a replica. A place that draws humans inside. It reads your memories, knows your fears, and then creates your form." Sweat broke out on Noah's forehead. The door shook again. Bang. This time a piece of wood broke off and fell in. Two black eyes appeared from across the hole. The thing was staring at him. Absolutely silent. Absolutely still. Then she smiled. Noah immediately stepped back. He began reading again. "If you want to live, go to the basement. That's the only way out. But remember, when you open the basement door, you will see something you will never forget." The writing would have ended here. At that moment, the door broke. Bang! Pieces of wood scattered everywhere. And Noah with the black eyes entered. He had the same inhuman smile on his face. "You ask a lot of questions," he said. "That's why you came all the way here." Instead of answering, Noah ran to the other side of the room. He entered a narrow corridor. The sound of footsteps echoed behind him. Knock, knock, knock. The thing was coming after him. But the strange thing was that it wasn't running. It was just walking, slowly, as if she was sure that Noah could not go anywhere. And maybe she was right. When the corridor ended, Noah reached a large hall. The scene was even more terrifying than before. There were hundreds of pictures on the walls. In each picture there was a different person. Some were children, some were old, some were young. And under each picture there was a date written. 1921, 1954, 1987, 2020. Noah's heart beat fast. All these people had come here. All these people had disappeared. And then his eyes went to the last picture. That picture was not yet complete. Half the picture was empty. Half of it contained Noah's face. The rest was filled with black fog, as if the picture was still being formed, as if his fate was not yet complete. "There is still time," someone whispered. Noah looked back in shock. An old man was standing there. He looked extremely frail. His beard was white. His clothes were torn. And there was a deep fatigue in his eyes. "Who are you?" Noah asked. The old man was silent for a moment. Then he said, "I am Samuel Harper." Noah felt a jolt in his body. 1987? The old man shook his head. I have never been able to get out of here. I have been imprisoned in this place for 35 years. Noah looked at him in disbelief. This is impossible. Samuel laughed bitterly. Nothing is impossible here. He pointed to the wall. Do you know what this place is? Noah shook his head in denial. Samuel answered in a low voice. It's alive. It's a creature. The whole cabin is a creature. Noah's breath caught. What? This is not a house. These are not walls. This is not a floor. These are all part of the same thing. Something that existed before our world. Noah's hair stood on end. Then the entire hall began to shake. The walls began to tremble. The pictures began to shake. And somewhere in the distance, a terrible scream was heard. A scream that was not human. Samuel's face turned pale. He's here. Who? Samuel didn't answer. He just grabbed Noah's arm. Let's go to the basement. Now. The two of them started running. There was a sound of footsteps coming from somewhere behind. But now it wasn't just one person. Dozens of footsteps. Hundreds. As if the entire cabin had woken up. Finally, they reached the basement door. The door was made of iron. It had strange markings engraved on it. And in the middle was written only one word. Don't look down. Don't look down. Noah looked at Samuel helplessly. What does that mean? Samuel answered as he opened the door. When I first came here, I asked myself the same question. The door slowly opened. CHRRR. It was completely dark down there. Only one staircase was going down. Very deep, as if there was no end to it. And then, Noah heard a voice from below. A familiar voice. His mother's voice. Noah, help me. The color drained from his face. His mother was hundreds of miles away. Then another voice came from below. The voice of his late father. Son, come down. Noah's legs began to tremble. Samuel grabbed his arm tightly and whispered, whatever, don't look down. But at that moment, Noah felt something staring at him in the darkness. Something huge. Something with eyes even darker than the darkness. And then, the thing called his name for the first time. No. That voice emerged from the depths of the darkness. So heavy, so unnatural, that Noah felt a pain in his chest. The basement stairs were in front of him. It was completely dark below. A darkness that swallowed up the light. Noah tried to put the flashlight down, but the light only went a few feet and then disappeared, as if there was no room for light there. Don't look. Samuel almost screamed. If you see it, it will all be over. Noah could barely keep his eyes up, but curiosity was growing. This was human nature. The mind thinks about what it is forbidden from. At the same time, the sounds of footsteps from behind began to grow louder. Knock, knock, knock. Now there wasn't just one person coming. Dozens of people, maybe hundreds. Noah turned around, and a cold wave ran through his body. At the other end of the corridor stood people with dark eyes. Dozens, all silent. Everyone was smiling the same way, and everyone had different faces. Some children, some women, some old people, and between them, there was also another form of Noah, the same dark-eyed imitation Noah. He raised his hand and smiled and said, "Look down, just once." Noah immediately looked away. Samuel started to close the iron door, but before the door was completely closed, Noah saw something. All the dark-eyed people started speaking at once. He's awake. He's awake. He's awake. The door closed, and the voices fell silent. Now only Noah, Samuel, and the endless stairs remained. What is all this? Noah asked, gasping. Samuel was silent for a moment. Then he spoke slowly. This place is a door. A door to what? Fear flashed in Samuel's eyes. To another world. A world that copies our world. But the copy is never complete. That's why it steals us. Noah didn't understand. Samuel continued. This creature wants to be human. It steals our memories, emotions, and lives. But it wants real humans. That's why it calls someone here every few years. A question came to Noah's mind. So, what about the people who disappeared? Samuel lowered his eyes. The copies went out in their place. Noah's blood froze. What do you mean? Meaning. Samuel's voice trembled. The real people stayed here. And their copies started living their lives. Noah's hands started shaking. He remembered his mother. He remembered his friends. He remembered his whole life. What if he died here? Would someone else take his place? Would a copy of Noah start living his life? Then the voice came from below again. No, this time the voice was closer than before. Very close. As if something was standing under the stairs, waiting for them. Samuel's face turned pale. It's never woken up so early before. Who? Samuel replied. The original owner. At that moment, the walls of the basement began to shake. Noah looked in surprise. The walls were not wooden. They were beating, just like a heart. Knock, knock, knock. The whole basement was alive. Noah stepped back in fear and touched the wall, and immediately pulled his hand away. The wall was hot, hot like a human body. Only then did he feel something else. Whispers were coming from inside the wall. Help, get us out, please. Noah's heart beat faster. These were the voices of people, hundreds of people. Maybe all the people who had disappeared here. Maybe they were still alive. Maybe they were trapped inside the walls. And then, Noah made a mistake. Just for a moment, just for a second, he looked down, to the bottom of the stairs. And what he saw, he screamed. There was no floor below. There was no basement. There was no room. Just an endlessly deep pit. And inside that pit, there were thousands of human faces. They were all connected to each other, aching, screaming. And between all those faces, a giant eye opened. That eye turned straight to Noah. And then, she smiled. Noah fell back screaming. His heart was beating so fast that he felt like his chest was going to burst. He was still looking at that giant eye. The eye that was open amidst a sea of thousands of human faces. And the scariest thing, that eye was smiling. No. Samuel's face went pale. You saw him. Noah's breathing was getting uncontrollable. What was this? Samuel didn't answer. There was a fear on his face that Noah had never seen in a human before. Then a resounding sound emerged from below, so heavy that the entire cabin began to shake. Finally, you saw me? The walls began to tremble. The floor began to shake. And somewhere up there, the sound of breaking glass began to be heard. Samuel grabbed Noah's arm. Run. Where? No time for questions. The two started running away from the stairs. But after a few steps, Noah stopped. He suddenly felt something strange. Images began to appear in his mind. Images that were not his own. A girl. Rain. An old car. A scream. Blood. And then complete darkness. Noah grabbed his head. What is happening? Samuel looked at him with frightened eyes. He touched you. Who? That eye. Cold sweat appeared on Noah's forehead. Samuel said, whoever sees him, he begins to enter him. He doesn't take your memories, he puts his memories inside you. Noah fell silent. Then he saw another scene. A small child, maybe 10 years old. He was running inside the same cabin. He was crying as he ran, and something was following him. Something that was not human in shape. The scene suddenly ended. Noah started to gasp. Why am I seeing all this? Samuel replied softly, because now you are becoming a part of it. Hearing this, a thrill ran through Noah's body. Just then the wall in front of him cracked. Bang! Pieces of wood scattered everywhere, and dozens of people with black eyes entered. They were silent, without any emotion, just walking. Slowly. But their number was growing. 50, 100, maybe more. Noah asked nervously, what are these people? Samuel's eyes narrowed. These were real people. What? Once. A long time ago. Noah's hair stood on end. And now? Samuel replied, now, they are just shells. Copies. That creature lives inside them. At that moment, a girl stepped forward from the crowd. Noah's heart stopped. The girl was exactly the image he had just seen in his mind. The girl in the rain. She was looking straight at him. Then he said slowly, save us. Noah was shocked. This was the first time a black-eyed person had said anything different. The girls spoke again. "We're still alive." At that moment, all the other black-eyed people stopped. They simultaneously turned their necks towards the girl. And then, they started screaming. Together. Hundreds of voices. A single scream. So terrifying that Noah's ears began to hurt. The girl was terrified. And the next moment, her body began to turn into mist. She stretched out her hand towards Noah and said, "Under the basement. The path. The real path." And then she disappeared completely. Silence fell. Noah was still trying to understand when suddenly Samuel handed him an old key. Rusty, heavy, and full of strange markings. "What is this?" Samuel said. "The only chance to get out. But I don't understand." Samuel smiled bitterly. "Because I hid something from you." Noah's heart pounded. "What?" There was silence for a few moments. Then Samuel bowed his head and said, "I am not the real Samuel." Noah remained silent. "What?" Tears welled up in Samuel's eyes. "The real Samuel died in 1987. I am his copy. I am one of those creatures." Noah stepped back. His mind went blank. "Then why are you helping me?" Samuel smiled like a human for the first time. "Because I've been trying to become a human for 35 years. And maybe I've finally learned." At that moment, the entire cabin shook violently. From deep below, the same giant voice echoed again. "Traitor, you can't chase him away. He's mine." And then, something began to rise from the pit of the basement. Something huge. Something that even the dark-eyed ones would recoil at the sight of. Samuel's face flushed, and he uttered only one sentence. "We're too late. We're too late." Samuel's words were still in the air when the entire basement began to shake like an earthquake. Bang, bang, bang. The walls were shaking faster than ever. It felt like the entire cabin was panicking, as if he was afraid of something too. Noah looked at the pit, and immediately looked away. But it was too late. He had caught a glimpse. Something was coming up. At first, only black fog was visible. Then thousands of faces appeared within that fog, screaming, crying, asking for help. And then, the thing appeared in full. Noah's blood froze. It didn't look like an animal. It didn't look like a human either. Rather, it seemed as if thousands of human bodies had been joined together to form one giant creature. Thousands of hands, thousands of eyes, thousands of faces. And in the middle of them all, that same giant eye, the eye that had seen Noah before. Now it was fully open, and it was looking straight at Noah. "I like you." The creature's voice came from all directions. Noah's knees began to shake. The black-eyed people began to back away. For the first time, they looked scared. Samuel grabbed Noah's arm. "Run." They both ran. The creature was moving slowly behind them, but the problem was, it didn't need to run. As it moved forward, the entire cabin was shifting with it. The walls were twisting. The floor was melting. The corridors were getting longer. And every way out was disappearing. This creature didn't just live in the cabin. It was that cabin. Noah suddenly remembered what Samuel had said. The whole cabin is a creature. Now he was sure. Suddenly another scene flashed through his mind. More vivid than ever. He saw an ancient forest. Very old. Probably thousands of years old. The trees were touching the sky. And between them was a pit. That pit. But there was no cabin there at that time. Only darkness. And then, some humans arrived there. Maybe settlers. Maybe hunters. They accidentally opened the pit. And something came out. Something that wasn't from our world. The scene suddenly ended. Noah faltered. "These memories. They're not mine." Samuel shook his head. "These are the memories of this creature. She's showing you how it all began." "Why?" Samuel fell silent. Then he said softly, "Because she has chosen you." Noah's heart sank. Chosen. Every few decades, she needs a host. A human who can be a bridge between her and our world. Noah's breath caught. "And now she wants me?" Samuel lowered his eyes. "Yes." At that moment, An iron door appeared in front of them. It hadn't been there before. The door looked ancient. It had the same markings on it as the key. Samuel paused. This is it. The real path. Noah gripped the key tightly. What's behind it? Samuel replied. Freedom. Then he paused for a moment and said, or death. Before Noah could say anything, the entire room shook. The creature had approached them. Its thousands of eyes were staring at them, and thousands of voices were speaking at once. He's mine. He's mine. He's mine. Noah inserted the key into the door with trembling hands. Click. The door opened, and the scene behind it silenced Noah. On the other side of the door was the forest of Lake Allen. The morning light, fresh, the sounds of birds. Everything was normal, as if nothing had happened. Hope flashed in Noah's eyes. We're saved. But Samuel stood his ground. He didn't come out. Noah asked in surprise. What are you doing? Samuel smiled. This time his smile was truly human. I can't go. Why? Because I'm not of this world. Noah fell silent. For the first time, he realized that Samuel was telling the truth. He was truly a copy, but he seemed more human than any human Noah had ever known. Suddenly, the creature's scream echoed throughout the cabin. Traitor! And its thousands of hands reached out towards Samuel. Samuel pushed Noah. Go! But now. Noah fell across the door. On the other side was the forest, real air, the real world. But before the door closed, he saw one last sight. Samuel stood before the creature, alone and smiling. Then the door closed. Everything went silent. Noah sat on the ground, panting. He was alive. He was back. But when he reached into his pocket, his face went pale. There was a picture in his pocket. The same picture he had seen in the cabin. But now there was a change. The dead man in the picture was not Noah. It was Samuel. And the new date was written below the picture. October 31st, 2020. 2 weeks later. And on the back of the picture was just one sentence. The story is not over yet. Noah sat on the forest floor for several minutes. He couldn't believe that he had really come back. The cool morning breeze was blowing on his face. The birds were chirping. The trees looked completely normal. Everything felt real. But the picture in his hand, it was proving that everything was not over. Samuel was standing in the picture. The same old coat. The same tired face. But behind him was complete darkness. And the date written under the picture hadn't even come yet. October 31st, 2020. Noah turned the picture over. The same sentence was written on the back. The story isn't over yet. His heart filled with anxiety. He immediately ran to his car. A few minutes later, he was heading back to the highway. But a strange feeling stayed with him all the way. It seemed as if someone was sitting in the back seat. He looked in the rearview mirror several times. But there was no one there. Just an empty seat. Just silence. And then, he heard that voice for the first time. Noah, very softly. From afar. But clearly. Noah stopped the car immediately. He looked around. There was no one. Maybe an illusion. Maybe exhaustion. Maybe fear. That's what he told himself. But his heart wasn't ready to believe it. 2 days later, Noah had returned to his apartment. Life was apparently returning to normal. He tried to convince himself that everything was over. But then strange things started. The first night, his bedroom door opened automatically. The second night, he heard footsteps in his kitchen. The third night, a file appeared on his computer. The file name was Samuel.mp4. A cold wave ran through Noah's body. He had never made this file. With trembling hands, he opened the video. The screen was black. Then the image slowly became clearer, and Noah's breathing stopped. The video had been recorded inside the cabin. The same cabin. But the camera was in someone else's hand. A few seconds later, a man came into frame. It was Samuel, but something was different. He looked younger than before. And the most surprising thing, his eyes were no longer black. He looked completely human. Samuel looked straight into the camera. Then he said, "If you're watching this video, it means I failed. Noah's heart pounded. The video continued. Don't be alarmed, but you didn't actually leave the cabin. Noah's hands started shaking. What? Came out of his mouth involuntarily. Samuel in the video kept talking. The door you opened wasn't the way. That was the test. The real way is still closed. Noah's blood froze. Fear appeared in Samuel's eyes in the video. And if you're watching this video, then it means she's back with you. Suddenly the video stopped. The screen went black. Then a new image appeared. This was the bedroom in Noah's apartment. From exactly the same angle as if someone were standing inside the room. Noah's heart stopped because the video was still being recorded. This wasn't an old recording. This was a live scene. His own bedroom. At that moment. And then, the camera slowly turned to the bed. Noah's eyes widened. Someone was sleeping on the bed. Him. Exactly like him. With exactly the same face. With exactly the same body. The laptop almost fell out of Noah's hand. He immediately ran to the bedroom. He opened the door. The room was empty. The bed was empty. No one was there. Noah started to gasp. Then he looked back at the laptop. The video was still playing. And in it, his likeness was still lying on the bed. But now his eyes were open. Completely black. And he was looking straight at the camera. Then he smiled and whispered, "You thought you were saved?" The screen immediately turned off. The power went out in the entire apartment. Darkness fell. Silence. And then, a sound came from the bedroom. See-char-r-r-r, as if someone was slowly getting out of bed. Although Noah had noticed for himself a few seconds earlier that no one was there. After that, another sound was heard. The sound of footsteps. Knock, knock, knock. From inside the bedroom. And it was slowly coming towards the door. A thrill ran through Noah's body. Because he was standing right in front of the door. And the next moment, someone knocked on the door from inside. Knock, knock, knock. Then a familiar voice was heard. It was Noah's voice. Open the door. I'm home. Thump, thump, thump. The knocking on the door continued. Noah stood still. His breathing had stopped. Sweat was pouring down his forehead. And on the other side of the door, someone was speaking in his own voice. Open the door. I'm home. Noah's body shivered. Then there was silence. A few seconds. Then a few minutes. And then, the thing on the other side of the door started laughing. That laughter was exactly like Noah's. But there was something inhuman inside it. Something that couldn't be described in words. Noah slowly started to back away. At that moment, his phone rang. A name appeared on the screen. Samuel. Noah's heart stopped beating. This name had never been saved in his phone. With trembling hands, he picked up the call. There was a moment of silence on the other end. Then Samuel's voice was heard. Don't let her in. Noah almost screamed. Samuel? Are you alive? There was a moment of silence. Then the answer came. No. Noah's blood froze. Then who are you? Samuel's voice sounded tired. I am the part that remains. Listen, Noah. We don't have time. What's outside the door is not a copy of you. She is the creature herself. Noah's hands began to tremble. But why is she in my form? Samuel replied, because she has decided that she will become you. At that moment, there was a loud knock on the door. Bang. The entire apartment shook. A second blow. Bang. The wood cracked. Noah backed away. What should I do? Samuel's voice was filled with panic for the first time. Find the mirror? What? Quickly, the call was suddenly disconnected. Noah immediately ran to the bathroom. The thing behind the door kept banging. Bang, bang, bang. Noah entered the bathroom and stood in front of a mirror. Then what he saw, it changed his entire world. His reflection was not in the mirror. Noah's breath stopped. He stood in front of the mirror, but the mirror was empty, as if no one was there. No. His legs began to tremble. This is impossible. But the truth was right in front of him. Then suddenly the image appeared in the mirror. And the person who appeared, it wasn't Noah. It was Samuel. Samuel was looking straight at him through the mirror. Do you understand now? Noah's heart sank. What? Samuel's eyes were sad. You weren't the real Noah from the beginning. Silence. Complete silence. Noah's mind refused to accept the sentence. Lies. That's a lie. Samuel shook his head. The real Noah died in the cabin 3 days ago. You're the copy that was sent in his place. Noah's legs gave out. He sat down on the floor. Hundreds of memories suddenly came flooding back to his mind. The cabin, the pit, the eye, and then the real Noah. He was really dead. Noah screamed, but deep down he knew it was true. At that moment, the main door to the apartment broke down.
Bang.
There was silence. Then footsteps began to sound. Knock, knock, knock. The thing had entered. Samuel spoke from inside the mirror. Now listen. You must be a copy, but you are not like that. You have learned to choose. You have felt fear. You have felt friendship. You have understood sacrifice. You have become human. Tears welled up in Noah's eyes. The sound of footsteps outside was getting closer. Very close. Samuel smiled one last time and said, "And that's what he can never have." Suddenly, the entire mirror lit up. A white light. Intense. Unbearable. And then Noah understood everything. The creature always wanted to be human, but there was one thing it couldn't create.
Soul.
Feelings.
Choice. Love.
Sacrifice. These things can't be copied. That's why it always failed. That's why it needed real humans. At that moment, the thing reached the bathroom door. The door slowly opened, and inside, Noah himself entered. Exactly the same face. Exactly the same voice, but completely black eyes. He smiled and said, "Finally, I'm free." But this time Noah wasn't afraid. He stood up slowly and walked towards the mirror. Samuel nodded. The time has come. Noah smiled, and then he entered the white light. The next moment the entire apartment shook. A terrible scream echoed. A scream that could be heard for miles. Then silence. Complete silence. 3 months later, the forest of Lake Allen. A hunter was passing by. Suddenly, he saw an old cabin among the trees. He was shocked. There was no such building on the local maps. He slowly approached. A shadow stood in the window of the cabin. A young man. Ordinary eyes. Ordinary face. A calm smile. The hunter blinked, and the shadow disappeared. The cabin also disappeared, as if it had never been there. Only an old picture remained on the ground. Behind the picture was a sentence. Some copies become humans, and some humans are lost forever.